What's up everyone, I'm GKB aka The Governor. Today on Gamers Knows Best, I will be reviewing OceanHorn. Is this game worth your time and money? Let's get into the video and find out. Real quick, if you're new to the channel, we do gaming videos, reviews, tech unboxings, and the sexiest damn podcast on Tuesday nights called The Console Corner. If these topics interest you, I would definitely consider subscribing. OceanHorn, Monster of Uncharted Seas is an action-adventure game developed by Corn Fox and Brothers, published by FDG Entertainment. You play as a boy that is on the quest to find his lost father. Along the way, you travel to islands, fighting monsters, exploring dungeons, killing bosses, to find special artifacts to defeat the evil dreaded OceanHorn. OceanHorn was on mobile platforms and now has been moved over to consoles. We are reviewing the game on the Xbox One, and the game will be launching with the price tag of $14.99. Alright, let's go ahead and get into our first topic, and that is the eye candy. Graphics, as always, is the first thing that just grabs you and pulls you into the game. So what did I think of the art style and overall look of OceanHorn? With this being a port from a mobile platform, the graphics held up nicely. I have to mention that this game reminds me a lot of Zelda, notably Wind Waker and A Link to the Past. And that's not really a bad thing at all. Like, it really works out well here. I was kind of worried about the graphics when I first started playing this, knowing that it was coming from a mobile platform, but I was pleasantly surprised that it was actually really nice. When you go to each island, there's different music for each island. There's different music effects and all that kind of stuff in this game, which is really nice. Along with that, each island has like a theme to it. So you can go to like one island and it's called like the Graveyard Island. There's the Sky Island. You know, they're very generic names, but it's really cool because it adds a lot of variety to the environments. You know, being that it's on islands, you know, you would go there and it's like beaches and stuff like that. But no, you know, there's like mountainous areas, you know, there's lava, there's all kinds of really cool stuff. What I thought was really cool is when you go from island to island, you have to jump into your boat and sail there. But instead of just like, you know, playing some, you know, random like little video and as the game's like loading into the next area, it's kind of like a mini game on its own. You get a gun and then you can shoot like these barrels and crates and stuff that's in the water, gold and all that kind of stuff. But there's also mines and monsters that jump out at you too, to try and hurt you and all that kind of stuff. I thought it was a really cool twist here and really kept me engaged in doing something while I'm waiting for the next area to load. I thought the UI was nice and simple. Like I said before, you can tell that this is coming from a mobile platform. But again, like the UI, you know, transferred over well, and you know, there's just a simple few things that you need to do anyway, and you're not like hampered by all this, you know, extra fluff and stuff. So I thought it was really good design. I thought it was super simple and I enjoyed it. I was like in and out and playing the game. There is one like ding about the graphics that kind of annoyed me a little bit, and that is after a while you'll start to see the same enemies over and over and over again. So the same skeleton guy you fought in the first island is the same skeleton guy you're fighting on the last island, and they didn't have too much variety as far as the enemies go, which I thought was a shame because there's a lot of things that are really designed well, but the lack of variety in enemies kind of wore on me as I went through the game. I was just like, you know, when a new thing came up, I was just like, oh wow, thank God there's something new to look at instead of the same, you know, beetle or skeleton guy that I've been killing since I started the game. So I thought the boss designs are really nice. Every time I got to a boss, I was just like, wow, that's a really cool looking boss. They did really cool designs and stuff on that. And like, again, it reminds me of Zelda. I had a smile on my face the whole time I was playing this game, so I really enjoyed it. I thought overall, though, the graphics were adequate and did a great job. I was pleasantly surprised how well they actually hold up on the consoles. Alright, so on to the topic that matters most in all video games, and that is the gameplay. If it doesn't have good gameplay, it's just gonna suck and not be fun. So what did I think of the gameplay of OceanHorn? First up, if you played a Zelda game, you've played this game. The controls, though, are tight and simple. Both triggers are used for either your slash attack or the shield. The XYAB is for different abilities that you can put on there. So how it works, just like in any Zelda game, you can slash the enemies, you can slash, you know, bushes and all that kind of stuff with your sword. You can block with the shield. You can use spells when you unlock them. You don't get any spells like up front. You have to unlock those as you go through the game. You also have a bow and arrow to attack enemies or use for solving puzzles. What's really cool here is, the bow and arrow is not just for attacking. They have targets placed throughout the world and on the different dungeons that you have to find and use to solve some of the puzzles, which is really cool. You can use them for unlocking stuff, turning things on and off. You can bring up the water level and stuff by shooting a target. So I thought that added some nice, interesting gameplay there. There's also a bomb that I found using quite often to kill enemies and break walls and find hidden areas. You definitely have to read all the signs and stuff as you go through this game. Some of the stuff is really hidden, and they don't, have a good way of like marking it out for you. There's a couple times here that I was on an island and I was just tossing bombs randomly, and then all of a sudden the floor would just disappear and just crumble away. And then, oh, there's a chest. Oh, there's a key to move me on. So definitely read all the signs. There is a dash mechanic that gives you a boost to your run, though I rarely ever used it. It's kind of a not needed skill. I used it a handful of times, maybe to get through some doors that had like a timer and stuff like that. I almost thought like I could have made it without even using the dash. So it really is not even a useful feature. Even like fighting bosses and stuff like that, you didn't need it. Like your guy ran pretty fast as it is. So I don't know, it's just an odd thing that they had that really wasn't useful at all. Alright, I'll go ahead and touch on some puzzles. Puzzles are great in this game. They're multi-tiered in some instances, which is really nice. You gotta figure out a lot of things to get through to the next area. Some puzzles were actually really challenging at some points, and I like that because I don't want them all simple. I could just blow through them. But yeah, I was kind of like scratching my head at some points. I'm like, how am I even supposed to do that? And going back to like the bow and arrow and stuff like that, like, and breaking the ground, like that's the kind of stuff you gotta like figure out, which is really cool and a lot of fun. Collectibles are a pretty big deal in this game. You collect gold, you find chests that have trinkets that give you gold. You can gather heart pieces to get you more health, so every 4 heart pieces will get you another heart on your health bar. There's these other jewels that you can find. You got to get a bunch of them that you can bring to a person and get a special weapon or whatever they grant you. There's also shops and stuff that you can spend all your gold on to buy upgrades and consumables like a revive potion, refill your arrows, refill your bombs, stuff like that. So there's a lot of cool extra things that you can do on top of the game. So the next part I wanted to talk about is the boss fights, and this one's kind of a little bittersweet for me. I really enjoyed the boss designs. And the fights were fun, but I have to admit that they were pretty simple. They just lacked some gameplay elements to make them really stand out. Most of the time you just completed a task, then the boss would reveal its soft spot, so to speak, and then you would use your sword to go ahead and like just hammer the crap out of the boss there for a few minutes. He would go back to his regular form, and then it's just rinse and repeat until the guy is done. I thought they could have done a bit more with that. Could have, especially coming to the console with more controls and stuff like that. I thought they could have added a little bit more variety there, but for every boss it's kind of the same thing. But I have to say, like, before I go ahead and move on to the story, is the gameplay overall though was really nice. I didn't find hardly any issues that like aggravated me or made me not want to play the game. Overall my gameplay was pretty smooth. I didn't have, like I said, a lot of issues. So on to the last topic before we get into the verdict, and that is the story. Now, there's a bunch of games out there with great stories, but how did the story stack up here on OceanHorn? I don't want to go into too much of the story because I don't want to ruin it for anybody that wants to go ahead and play the game, but I will touch on a little bit of stuff here. Like I said in the intro, the story is about a boy searching for his father and learning about strange and interesting things in the world. You meet some cool characters along the way, but I gotta be honest, most of them are forgettable. There's really no one that stands out besides, the hermit guy, your father, and you, and that's about it. The others, like I said, is forgettable. The story is told in a couple of different ways. Like there's text-based, like when you're talking to NPCs and stuff. There's also voice acting, and a good amount of it too, which was really nice. I'm not reading text the whole time. You can find signs and artifacts that also add to the lore and stuff like that. So what's really cool about the game is the story is told in a couple of different ways. There's text with NPCs and stuff that you talk to. So your basic like RPG style. There's also voice acting, and a lot of it too, so you're not always reading text, which is kind of nice and refreshing. But there's also like signs and artifacts that you find throughout the world that also tell you some lore and backstory. What's really cool too is like the first time you come to the island, the boy's father starts narrating some interesting facts from when he was there, and kind of gives you the backstory of the island before you get on there. And I thought that was really cool. Overall, the story I thought was really decent. It kept me engaged as I played through the game. At some points I was kind of like, what is going on here? Like, that doesn't really make sense. But at the end, it kind of all like comes to a head, and it all works out, and you figure everything out. So it was kind of cool. All right, now on to what everyone came to see. Is OceanHorn a buy, wait for a sale, or flush this turd down the toilet? But first, before we get into that, what is the pros and cons? We're going to go ahead and start off with the cons. Number one is there's not enough variety in the enemies. Like I said before, you fight the same skeleton as you did in the beginning as at the end. There's not a whole lot of variety here. The next one is the boss fights are underwhelming. Like the designs for these bosses are really cool, but the fights just don't live up to that. And it's kind of sad, but that is what it is. The last one here in the cons is some of the spells and abilities you really don't need to use. You probably could have just played through the game just hacking and slashing your way through it, and didn't really need much of the spells for anything but just doing a couple puzzles and stuff like that. So alright, let's go ahead and go on to the pros. I got a lot of pros here. So I love the art style of the game. I thought it was really cool looking. I was worried at first, but I was pleasantly surprised, so that's really good. I thought the music is great. That's the second one. The controls and gameplay are great as well. Like I said, if you played a Zelda game, you've played this one. It feels really good. Also, to piggyback on that, it's easy to hop into and play. There's no huge learning curve here. You know, you're pretty much just hacking and slashing, you know, figuring out puzzles, going to the next island, you know, rinsing and repeating. There's not a whole lot to learn. The next one is sailing to each island is awesome. It really breaks up the gameplay. You're not just waiting for a screen to load. You actually have a little mini game, and you're traveling through and seeing other little cool stuff. So I thought that was really awesome. Next up is the puzzles and the dungeons are great. I had a ton of fun in there. Some of them were head scratchers. I was like, what the heck do I need to do? But still, it was a great time. And my last one for the pros is it reminds me of Zelda. Like, the whole time I'm playing through this game, I was just having such a great time. I was smiling the whole time, and that's fantastic. Like, I started playing this game and I couldn't stop playing until I finished it. So that says a lot about a game. All right, so is this game a buy, wait for a sale, or flush it? For me, like I've said multiple times through this review, I had an absolute blast playing OceanHorn. I literally couldn't stop playing it, with a great art style, smooth controls, the different islands to explore. I put in like already 12 hours of gameplay into it so far, and there's still more to do. And with a price point of like $14.99, I think that's great value. You can't go wrong with this game, especially if you're a Zelda fan, because it literally is Zelda. So yeah, this game completely, absolutely has the governor's seal of approval. All right, that's it. This is GKB. We hope you enjoyed this review of OceanHorn. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you slash the crap out of that like button. If you'd like to see more of these videos, please make sure you subscribe. And as always, take care of your fellow gamer.